Hey guys, last week we talked about hue and saturation. This week we're going to talk about the third dimension of color, which is value. So we're going to figure out how we can use value in our paintings and how value relates to color. So I have this balloon and it has different colors from the color wheel on it. And of course it has a darker value on the top and the bottom and a lighter value on the top. But that doesn't bring in that hue and saturation. So how do we get and tie those dimensions all together? Well, you blow it up, of course. That was entirely unnecessary. So by opening up the sphere, you can see that there exist colors in each hue of various saturations and values throughout the sphere. It's also important to note that some of your colors achieve their highest chroma or saturation and could be referred to as intensity at different value levels.
I also have to point out that this is the 1943 Munsell color annotation chart that was reworked for RGB color in 2009 by the Rochester Institute of Technology and is attributed to Creative Commons licensing agreement.
Needed that one for the lawyers. I think instinctively we understand that value is important in grayscale and black and white photography, but a lot of times people, when they start with art, they skip the whole grayscale value understanding of black and white and move on to color, which is a lot more fun. But even when you get to color, value is still king, and if you don't understand value within your colors, your paintings will tend to look flat. Well, let's take this painting of mine. There are multiple different colors in very low saturation throughout this picture. As a matter of fact, the highest chroma that I have in this picture is going to be up in here, some moss green. Aside from that, that is the highest in chroma and intensity that we have. But if we convert this to grayscale, it becomes very obvious that the value is what gives the painting the depth, and the color saturation merely allows us to elevate the painting. By now you probably have questions such as, how do I incorporate that into my picture, and how do I mix the colors to the proper value while maintaining saturation? And other important questions like, how many different shirts are you going to wear in this video, Bill? Many of you may be familiar with the terms tint, tone, and shade, which is the process of adding white, gray, and black to your colors respectively for mixing colors. The problem with that is if you do not have a chart, you don't make those charts, it can be hard to do this intuitively because different colors exist at a different chroma on different values. So like for instance, this so-called primary blue, it has its maximum chroma roughly at a value number 5 on a grayscale, and yellow exists at the very high end of the spectrum in value, almost to the equivalent of white, where you just merely desaturate by adding white to your yellow. Oh, hey. Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, what I was going to say next is very important, that I need you to understand that pigments and light work with colors entirely differently. So you can just forget about anything that you hear about how light works with pigments and how your television or your computer monitor works. Pigments work anytime you're painting it. It's true for any pigment, is they will absorb or block certain light frequencies, allowing the color that you see to be seen. And it's blocking the other light frequencies. So you could say that pigments kind of behave like two guys competing for the same girl in high school. So this is a slice out of the Munsell color chart. This is the printable version. I think the printable version is around $80. The actual Munsell tree is about $350. I know some people that mix with it. I do not mix with the Munsell charts. One is I can't, the concept of having these charts with me all the time is foreign. And secondly, I still think there's there's problems mixing through the Munsell system. But what I want you to pay attention to here is, see what I was talking about. The chroma for this color is at this value. The chroma for this color, maximum chroma, is way out here at this, down here in these values, and the maximum chroma for this red exists at this value, and then the maximum chroma for yellow exists all the way up here, white being value 10. So you've probably heard people say to darken a color, mix your opposite. So let's test that. We take a little bit of yellow, or some yellow, we mix it with purple, which is the opposite color, and what happens? Well, we get towards that brown shade. Of course, if we continue to add a lot more yellow to it, so it takes on that brown hue, gets desaturated very quick. You know, are we darkening this color by going to here? Well, the problem sometimes, it can be helpful, but sometimes mixing opposite colors like that is not the way to go. Sometimes you're better off mixing a color of the same hue that's darker, such as burnt umber, with the yellow, which are closely related in hue, and I can lightly darken that yellow without worrying about heading towards that gray mix. You'll notice these colors are pretty similar, but this one gets more of that mustard greenish look because I mixed the yellow and the purple together. Will yellow darken the purple? Well, yes, it will, if you stop and think about how I told you pigments behave, because you're absorbing more of the light, so naturally it will get better. But I still would argue that oftentimes your best option is to mix a color that is darker in value and closer to the same hue so that you can avoid getting into that gray zone in the middle. Another example would be my blue. If I wanted to darken it, yes, I could take orange, which is the opposite color on the color wheel, but if I work with just a little bit of purple, I've darkened my blue. That's without moving the hue very far. And now all I might have to do is shift that hue around just a tiny bit if the hue is off. And it's easy to shift the hue by using a color next to it on the color wheel. Hey guys, I'm Bill Kennedy with W. Leon Artistry. Hopefully I gave you guys a lot to discuss. If you got any questions, of course, always hit down in the comments below all the burning questions you might have. If you enjoy what you're seeing today, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. To recap, we talked about target color, how to hit our target color, saturation in the first part, and then we learned a whole lot about chroma today. If you haven't seen the first video, make sure you go back and find the Exploring the Color Space video part 1, which will help tie these together. Next week, we're going to bring it all together and learn some techniques for applying the knowledge that we have. Anyway, you could say I've given you the shirt off of my back. Y'all have a great day. We appreciate you. Bye.